Hey there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Alien Investigations, a channel dedicated to the X-Files collectible card game. I'm Steven, and you're watching Tips of the Trade. In this video, I'm going to take you through the deadliest adversaries lurking within the X-Files CCG's universe of cards. Your opponent will be sweating bullets the second one of these adversaries hits the playmat. If they are not sitting on a negate card that will quickly send that adversary packing, then they know that one or more of their agents is about to go down for the count, which will likely lead to a failed site investigation. Some of these adversaries are so formidable that it just takes one strike in either long-range or close-range combat, and it's lights out for at least one agent on the investigating team. If that's not a frightening enough prospect for the active player, the cost of some of these monstrous malefactors is on the low end, which means the conspiracy player can count on having at least some conspiracy points left in their pool once the dust settles. As a point of reference, the average cost of an adversary is, and I did the math on this, 5.8 conspiracy points. So keep that in mind as we peruse this rogues gallery of X-Files villains. So who are these fearsome foes that haunt your opponent's nightmares? Let's jump in and find out. First up is the Sandman, representing Augustus Cole from the episode Sleepless. This evolutionary creature has a result site activator as well as a unique ability in that his long and close range are equal to the highest combat rating on the opposing team, +1. And that includes any equipment cards that modify a combat skill check, like, say, the M16 assault rifle and the Glock 19 semi-automatic. Let's say the opposing team taking part in the combat includes Agent 𝐗-𝐅i𝐥e𝐬, which admittedly is a best-case scenario, but 𝐗-𝐅i𝐥e𝐬's a commonly enlisted agent, so go with it. In this situation, the Sandman's long-range combat rating is going to be equal to 𝐗-𝐅i𝐥e𝐬's 4 LRC +1, thus giving the Sandman a total of 5 long-range damage to dish out. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, considering that no agent has a health rating higher than 5, unless of course they're wearing a dried frog around their neck, that means the Sandman is going to take out the best and brightest agent in the first round of combat, barring the intervention of combat card. But that's not all. The Sandman also has the ability to use subterfuge cards during combat, which means that if you have ambush in your hand, you can pay 2 conspiracy points to negate the opposing side's long-range damage and keep the Sandman around for a second round of combat where he'll have the potential to take down a second agent. Bear in mind that the Sandman is an evolutionary adversary, so he's able to use such pain-inducing combat cards as Mind Control and Flaming Wall to inflict additional damage. If you're still not convinced that the Sandman deserves a spot amongst this game's deadliest adversaries, need I point out that he has a cost of 4 conspiracy points. 4! That's below the 5.8 average cost of an adversary card. Compare that to, say, the Crew Cut Man, who is limited to attacking only 1 agent for 6 CP, or Suppressed Fury, a 5 CP adversary that would have to survive at least 2 rounds of combat in order to hospitalize even a low health agent, or luck into a combat card that adds to its CRC value. These adversaries aren't nearly as reliable as the Sandman, and unless he's negated prior to combat, the Sandman is sure to bring your opponent anything but good dreams.
He retains not his anger forever, because he delights in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion on us. He will subdue our iniquities, Henry, and he will cast all our sins into the depths of the sea. It's all right, Henry. It's all over now.
The next deadly adversary on the docket is Squeeze, representing liver-eating mutant Eugene Victor Toombs from the show's first season. Squeeze has an activator of Method Sight, which is a common enough keyword on sites, so you usually won't be waiting too long for a chance to attack opposing agents. And with a sticker price of 3 conspiracy points, Squeeze is amongst the cheapest adversaries in the whole game. With a cost of only 3 conspiracy points, Squeeze is exceptional because it calls for the long-range combat round to be skipped, which from an adversary standpoint is beneficial because most agent teams tend to have a slightly higher long-range combat rating compared to close-range combat. But more than that, Squeeze can inflict 3 close-range damage, which guarantees that one agent with a health rating of 3 will be sent to the hospital barring the intervention of a combat card. The majority of agents have either a health of 3 or 4, so Squeeze could easily hospitalize such low health agents as Albert Hostein, Dr. Charles Burke, and Agent Tom Colton before Squeeze is sent to the discard pile by the opposing team. Like the Sandman, Squeeze is an evolutionary creature, which means that the conspiracy player can play any combat cards that are pertinent to evolutionary adversaries, such as the aforementioned Mind Control and Flaming Wall, but there's also Sneak Attack and Illusionary Foe that can ensure Squeeze survives for a second round of close-range combat, where he'll have the potential to feast on the liver of a second agent. So if you're needing a cheap and effective adversary to round out the conspiracy portion of your deck, you really can't go wrong with Squeeze. Next up, we have a similar but somewhat deadlier adversary, the Psychotic Attack, derived from the Season 1 episode Fire, wherein Mulder and Scully square off with an Englishman with a literal hot streak. The Psychotic Attack is also inexpensive for what he can do. For just 4 conspiracy points, the Psychotic Attack can fry a 3 health agent with its long-range combat attack. Like Squeeze, this adversary has a health of 5, so chances are he's not going to survive beyond 1 round of combat when going up against a full cadre of agents. Combat cards notwithstanding, of course. But for the cost of 4 conspiracy points, taking out 1 agent is points well spent. What makes the Psychotic Attack deadlier than Squeeze is that he's an evolutionary pawn. Why does that make him more formidable, you wonder? Sure, pawns are by definition weak, but in the case of X-Files CCG, this is important because there are no witnesses that can negate an evolutionary pawn, so that gives the Psychotic Attack a leg up compared to the Sandman and Squeeze, because both of those are evolutionary creatures that can be dispatched by Dr. Blockhead. We haven't even talked about this adversary's effect yet. As per its game effect, the Psychotic Attack has the ability to split its 3 long-range damage amongst multiple enemy combatants. So if he's going up against a team that has previously sustained damage, or if you use a combat card like the Flaming Wall or Semi-Jacketed Hollow Points to inflict additional LRC damage, there's potential to light a fire under multiple agents in a single round.
Michael? Jimmy? You in there? Time to call 911. Don't move!
Next up is the Manitou Stalks' Prey. This occult creature from the episode Shapes has more bite than a Florida alligator. It means business. Your opponent is going to want to curl up in the fetal position when this adversary hits the table, and here's why. The Manitou stalks his prey has a towering health of 8, which means the opposing player will need the full might of their agent team in order to slay the beast in long-range combat. And taking down this adversary before it can inflict any damage on the agents is imperative. Why? Because if the Manitou so much as scratches an agent, that agent will only be allowed to heal those wounds when a healing card is played on them. Let's say the Manitou survives the long-range combat round. It will then be able to apply a punishing 6 close-range damage to an agent. And even with a dried frog, no agent is going to have more than 6 health. So if the Manitou overpowers an agent at close range, that agent will have a permanent bed in the ICU until your opponent draws a healing card from their deck. This is advantageous because many players either neglect to include healing cards like medical treatment or successful diagnosis, or they're not banking on their opponent having the opportunity to play such a powerful foe, which means it's game over for that agent. They'll be stranded in the hospital for the remainder of the game. Imagine losing a lead agent like Mulder or Scully to this adversary. The team's ability to investigate sites is severely limited. This adversary's primary weakness is that it has no long-range combat rating, which means the opposing agents will have a free round to try and take him down. But again, the creature has a health of 8, so there's a decent chance it will survive that initial round. Including combat cards like Illusionary Foe and Aura of Invulnerability in a deck containing this adversary is a wise choice. Anything that can cut down on the LRC damage from the opposing team will ensure that one of the investigating agents sustains damage from this creature. The next deadly rogue in this X-Files CCG gallery is none other than the Deadly Blur, referring to the invisible Predator knockoff of Season 1's Fallen Angel. Hey, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but credit where credit is due. This alien adversary's radioactive flash frying effect would make even Schwarzenegger quiver in his boots. This Deadly Blur's stealth technology allows it to not only use subterfuge combat cards like Ambush and Hide, but it also reduces the long range and close range combat of each agent on the opposing side. Each one. That's a powerful effect because many of the lesser agents only have 1 LRC and 1 CRC. Ergo, the Deadly Blur would reduce the combat ratings of those agents to 0. Zilch! This damage reduction effect ensures that the Deadly Blur will survive the long-range combat round in which it has no LRC rating. But if you're including a couple copies of the Deadly Blur in your deck, then consider throwing in such damage reduction cards as Alien Stealth Technology and Dodge, in addition to the aforementioned subterfuge cards. Any one of these combat cards played on the Deadly Blur will ensure a complete massacre of the opposing side. Not one agent will be left standing. If that doesn't have your opponent shaking in their shorts, this adversary's game effect also dictates that even if the agent's health isn't reduced to 0 during combat, the agent still has to go to the hospital once the combat subroutine concludes. And if that's not formidable enough for you, even if an agent receives a mild sunburn from the Deadly Blur, their hospital stay will last 2 rounds. Because let's face it, no one just bounces back after being rotisseried by an invisible alien.
Must have been an animal.
And finally, the deadliest of deadly adversaries is, and you wouldn't know it from looking at him, Joseph Patnik, the unwitting test subject who was driven to murder his wife by a malevolent signal relayed through his television in the episode Wet Wired, which goes to show too much television will rot your brain. I'm sure you're wondering, how the heck is this government guinea pig deadlier than a 7-foot-tall werewolf and an invisible alien that can flash fry you in seconds? I mean, he can't even light your cigarette with his finger like Cecil Lively. And I'll bet if he tried to take a page out of Toombs' playbook, he'd probably get stuck trying to squeeze down a chimney. Be that as it may, this adversary, which has a result sight activator and a health of 4, has a similar effect to the Deadly Blur in that it reduces the combat rating of each opposing agent by 1. Why, you ask? I don't know, you got me there. It's not as though he can turn invisible or walk through solid matter. What makes Patnik even deadlier than the Deadly Blur is that not only is Patnik cheaper with a bargain price of 4 CP, compare that to the cost of the Deadly Blur, and while the Deadly Blur has to survive a round of long-range combat before he can cook an agent extra crispy, Joseph Patnik can bypass the long-range combat round and immediately inflict 4 close-range damage to any opposing agent, so he's sure to dispatch one key agent. However, with the ability to reduce combat ratings of all enemy combatants, Patnik is almost certainly going to get a second crack at the opposing team. In the majority of games I've observed this adversary getting played, Patnik will typically hospitalize 2 agents, but he can frequently wipe out the entire team without the aid of a combat card. And again, he only costs 4 conspiracy points. Compare that to the Walk, another adversary from the 1013-6-1 expansion, same as Patnik. This adversary is a spitting image of Patnik. Both have a health of 4, 0 long-range combat, 4 close-range combat, and both can reduce the combat rating of all combatants by 1. However, the Walk costs 5 conspiracy points instead of 4. Even more astounding is that the Walk doesn't even get the benefit of skipping the long-range combat round, so it has to survive 1 round before it gets a chance to strike, while Patnik gets to just waltz right past the LRC round. Joseph Patnik is so ridiculously overpowered that I haven't even covered all the reasons why he tops the chart as the deadliest adversary in X-Files CCG's short-lived history. Take a look at his keywords. This adversary has the keywords government and phenomena. Not pawn like you would expect, but rather phenomena. Sheriff Mazeroski can only negate government pawn adversaries, but there exists no witnesses that can negate Joseph Patnik. The Deadly Blur can be negated by Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Belt. The Manitou Stalks' prey can be negated by the 𝐗-𝐅i𝐥e𝐬. Not a single witness can negate Joseph Patnik. Hell, you can't even negate him with evasive maneuvers because he has the keyword phenomena. Sure, he can be negated with hell money, but who really runs with hell money? There's no question that Joseph Patnik is the deadliest of X-Files CCG adversaries. As another point of reference, the Alien Bounty Hunter costs 3 times as much to play as Joseph Patnik, and the Alien Bounty Hunter usually gets destroyed in long-range combat before he even has a chance to inflict any damage. But I suppose you can always attribute the Alien Bounty Hunter's high cost to brand name, right? And how do we account for the existence of Joseph Patnik? I mean, how could an insanely powerful adversary like this just slip past the playtesters back in 1996? The answer is that, in all likelihood, he probably wasn't playtested, because there exists no playtest card for Joseph Patnik, so it's likely that he was a last-minute addition to the expansion roster. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this installment. You've listened to me drone on and on about the Deadliest Adversary cards. Now it's time to hear from you. Let me know in the comments section what you thought of these adversaries. And of course, let me know if you can think of any adversaries that I missed and should have highlighted. And as always, the easiest way to support this channel is to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And if you feel so inclined, hit that thumbs up button while you're at it. Be sure to check out the loads of riveting gameplay episodes on my channel. And if you need ideas on how to construct an effective bureau deck, I've got sample deck videos that should prove inspiring. And finally, you can reach out to me at alienvestigations19@gmail.com for business inquiries, or if you have any ideas for upcoming content that you'd like to see. Once again, I'm Steven, and be sure to tune in again for more Tips of the Trade.